Very unusual colour, some of them you get. You know, like that one there's a blue bar. One of the pretty ones, a grizzle. Then you got a checker with a white flight on it. That's called a checker flighty, naturally. Yeah. But these white ones here, they're a fantail.
Birds, and I love the eggs and I love them chipping. I love seeing the little babies coming out of them. That was the first thing, of course. I wasn't too concerned about racing and so forth. But, you know, I heard all what was happening with the racing, but as a young boy of 6-year-old, when you start with them, you know, you just like pigeons, you like birds. And I'm 71 years of age, and I've flown from this position here for 41 years. People usually say to you, well, how do they know where to go? Well, I said, that's not a problem. We take them somewhere and let them go, and then they home themselves because they're natural homers. That's their natural instinct. And we systematically do that, you know, further up the track as we go. What I like is race day, is when you actually sit there in anticipation and testing your patience, waiting for the first flock of pigeons to come, and you like to see them as far away as possible, and then see your pigeon pull out of the bats and not wasting any time coming into the loft clocking itself in. That's probably the biggest thrill of all. For a good pigeon you pay $1,000. So you don't get them cheap. But, you know, I've always said my pigeons have to earn whatever I spend, and they always had done. But you don't go in it to make money, really. You know, there are some people that do that well, that they can make some money out of it, and if they're lucky enough to win one of the big ones, well, that goes for a long time. But generally speaking, it's a hobby. There's a lot of pensioners in the business, and they'd like to, you know, go into the sport as cheap as possible, and if they can win a little bit of money back, it keeps them going. We have lost a lot of members over the last 20 years. We've gone down from 210 to just under 100 now. That's on the south coast here. When I say the south coast, I mean in the Illawarra. So that's a big drop, because you've still got to send a truck. You've still got to send a driver, you've still got to send a liberator, you know, and so the costs haven't changed. Costs have gone up too. There'll always be little clubs around the place where people will still race pigeons, at least for the next 20 years or so. There's not enough young people coming to it, because those young people have got too many other things that they can do so easily. You see, when I was a young fella, there wasn't much that you could do unless you go and play a game of soccer, you know, or a game of tennis. But there's so much more that people can do today and that they have access to that we didn't have access to. You could have access to pigeons, but not necessarily to a game of tennis, if you know what I mean. Kids, my 3 sons, were all keen on racing pigeons until they grew up and realised there were birds without feathers that were more interesting. So they became dislodged from the pigeon sport also. I see the future of the sport making a change, which is really what is already going through now. That a lot more people will be coming to one loft races, so that we can race electronically like we're doing here, you know, following how our birds are actually going in those different lofts.